Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. This one is a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy it. So I've been watching a lot of Serpa Designs videos recently, and I really fancied putting together a terrarium. So the other day, I went out and collected some moss. My garden's literally full of it, and this stuff loves water, so I'm hoping it does well in the environment I plan to put it in. Once I collected a variety of moss, I kept it in these two smaller jars for about a week. You probably should keep them in for a bit longer, but I just want to see how they'd do, and luckily they did well. So a week later, we went off and chose a carnivorous plant for the terrarium. I did have one in mind, and luckily they had the one I wanted. But this is where our story takes a bit of a strange turn. So we popped off to the beach before we went and got the plants because I love the beach, and I discovered a washed up starfish. Now this is actually known as a common starfish and can be found around the British Isles, but personally at the time I did not know that. I've never seen one in person. The only time I've seen a starfish is like in a shop or like a sea life centre. So I noticed it was kind of washed up and it was on a beach which was heating up quite quickly, and I really didn't want it to dry up. I know some people actively look for these guys to let them dry up and then use them as a decoration, but that is definitely something I did not want to do. So as you'll be able to see in this video, I did what I could do.
I'm trying to see if it's alive. It's suction on, you know, it's still wet. It's got some suction going on. Like, oh, look at that. It's like suctioning onto the rock. Starfish. You know they can like regrow their little feet. Look, there's still life in it.
Is there?
Yeah, it's moving.
Stop playing out with it and stick it back on the beach. Stick it
Yeah, okay, I think it's still alive. We can save it. It might got stuck. Wait,
I ended up getting on some rocks which were a little slippery, and I was in hills, and I didn't want to film it because honestly I thought I was probably going to slip in, and I did not want my phone to be completely ruined. The water was fairly shallow though, but I believe these starfish, they hang around near the rocks and stuff, and at least it could grip onto that, and hopefully it did not get washed up again or anyone found it or anything, so hopefully it's doing well. Anyway, back to the terrarium build. So first I had this massive jar which I'll be using as a terrarium, and I created a false bottom with stones and a mesh layer to prevent the dirt mixing with the drainage. The soil I used was one specifically designed for carnivorous plants. Then I added in the plant itself, and it was a little bigger than I expected. I genuinely thought it was going to be a lot smaller than the jar, even when I saw it in the shop, but yeah. Next, I added the moss that I'd collected. Now there's a bit of variety and it's quite spaced out, but I hope this means there's room for it to grow. Then I gave it a good water with some rainwater that I had been collecting recently. So let's talk about the plant itself. Now this is a hybrid trumpet pitcher. These plants in the wild live in boggy marshlands, so they need plenty of water, ideally rainwater. You don't want these to dry out, and that's why I paired this plant with the moss that I collected. For example, this clump of moss, maybe it's pillow moss, I'm not sure, it was completely submerged in rainwater because we've had so much rain recently and it's doing fantastic. So I know this particular moss really loves lots of rainwater too. Now I'm keeping it in this terrarium, and it's not directly by my radiator, but it's somewhat close, and this may allow a lot of humidity to be created, and the heat in some cases can actually help the pitcher grow. They also need quite a lot of sunlight, so it's kept under a bright large window, and possibly in spring or summer where I can I may pop it outside just in the daytime for a bit of extra sun, but we'll see. And by the way, I probably won't put any plant like this in a gecko's tank if you are wondering, as they're quite delicate and my geckos are liable to trample on them. However, they would certainly help if we had another fungus gnat infestation, since they are of course carnivorous. So basically, I think bugs are usually attracted to the pitcher plant itself. I believe they let off a certain scent, then the bugs accidentally slip inside and they can't get back out, and they'll eventually get digested. So yeah, I'll have to make sure this one gets plenty of food. And by the way, we named him Duncan. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. If you do have any experience with these types of plants and you have any tips for me, please let me know in the comment section below. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and goodbye. Lay down. Bye-bye. Yeah.